Hey everybody, it's Laura and Chris, and we are going to do the combative stuff. So enjoy.
All right, here we go. So are we ready to make this rock?
Yes,
okay,
we are.
Excellent. So the first thing I want you to understand is this idea of spatial awareness to a potential assailant. Now, obviously, the best thing that we would want to do is not be in a situation. But if you are in a situation where you feel someone might be a little bit aggressive toward you and you may have to do something physically to protect yourself, space is going to be your friend. Now, I want to help you understand something just about, before we get into combatives, talk a little bit more about awareness.
Yes.
Is in our self-defense seminars, we talk this concept of being on yellow alert at all times. Now, what does yellow alert mean? It basically means when you're out in the world that you are actually aware of what's going on around you, right? Yeah, exactly. How many times have you seen people on their phone? I mean, next time you're flying on the airport, in an airplane in the airport, you'll notice no one is looking at anything but their phones, right? So we want to be in yellow alert so that we're just aware of our surroundings. Orange alert is if somebody approaches us and they may not be aggressive, we're just aware of them. So we have a little heightened sensitivity and we're just aware of what that person is doing, how close they are to us. And then of course, red alert is when they become aggressive in some way. Generally speaking, will most likely be verbally first. And oftentimes when people approach you that are assailants, for instance, they won't come really hot right out of the gates. Oftentimes they'll do what's called an interview. So they'll begin asking you questions and where are you going? What time is it? So on and so forth. So they're basically profiling you at that point in time. Then generally speaking, they'll say something that is maybe a little bit off color that's going to get you and your sensitivities will go up. That's where we're going to go to this next stage. Okay. That's where we're going to go to this next stage. So anyway, the first thing in terms of distancing that I want you to understand is that this distance right now with Laura and myself in this distance is probably very good for her because she is allowing me to not get any closer than 2 of my steps. So Laura's going to stay right there, but notice I'm 2 steps here before I can engage. If she allows me to be within 1 step, it just takes 1 step for me to be able to engage. So you want to create that space. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is something we call the self-defense stance. And you recall in our interview, we talked about how 80% of the way we communicate is nonverbal, right? Mm-hmm. So of course, as we're walking down the street, we want to make sure we're making eye contact, our shoulders are back, we're looking confident in our gait. We don't want to be looking like a victim, but if we are approached by someone, we want to maintain that way of physically expressing ourselves. Now, the way we do the self-defense stance, and Laura, I'm going to have you do it for us. So let's both do it toward the camera right here, is we're going to step back here. And if you're right-handed, I'm right-handed, I'll have my right foot back. If you're left, you can switch it up. But basically what you're doing is you're standing here with your feet balanced and your hands are up. And I'll show the side view of this, just like this, okay? But the fingers are open and you are basically communicating to them, I don't want any trouble from you. I need you to stay away. But if you engage with me, I can take care of myself. Now, let's have you and me face each other like this. If I'm in a stance and I'm like this, I'm communicating being scared, right? If I'm here, I'm aggressive. So what we want to be is we want to be assertive. We sit into the stance, our legs are anchored, our fingers are spread wide, and we're making eye contact straight ahead. Now, let me say this, and I say this in all my seminars, is that the best martial art on the planet before you ever get engaged with someone physically is run fu. So if you're able to get out of the situation, do it. Okay, run as fast as you can. But many times you won't have that as an option. So if you think that's your only means, now you don't have it, now what are you going to do? So I want you to think in terms of us now being in a situation where there's no escape route. You have to stay and protect yourself. Okay, so let's show that to him again. Okay. Laura, just holding this way here. Good. Now, here's what we're going to do next is we're going to help you understand the power of your voice. Okay, the power of your voice. And as I mentioned in the interview, 80% of women who are attacked by men that they know. And about that same percentage or a little bit higher, those that are physically abused, it starts with verbal intimidation. So if we're able to access our power through our voice, first and primarily, now the chances of it getting physically are dramatically reduced. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about any of you out there that maybe has a pet, say a dog, right? And let's say you were potty training your dog, and your dog's sometimes having a couple accidents around the house. You wouldn't say, oh, Schnookums, that was so cute. You'd say, no, bad dog, bad dog. That's the way that we want to execute our voice. Now, it's not a voice that happens from here. It's a voice that happens from here. If you know where your belly button is here, about 2 inches below that is, in martial arts, we call that the 1 point. Okay, that's where all of our core energy is coming from, our hips, and when we do something physically. So that's where your voice needs to come from. It's not from here, it's from here. Okay, so now let's take our stance right here, Laura. And I want you, what you're going to do is I'm going to say something, and then you're going to repeat it back to me at the same level and the same thing that I say. Okay. All right. So here we go. So I'm going to say, what do you want?
What do you want?
You're too close.
You're too close.
I don't know you.
I don't know you.
Back off.
Back off.
Call 911.
Call 911.
Back off.
Back off.
Back off.
Back off.
All right. Good job. Good job. Very good. Now, I don't know about you. I got a little adrenalized.
Yes.
Doing that, right?
You do.
The part that's so great about understanding the use of our voice is that it helps us access that adrenal response. And if we know how to use it, we can channel that energy where we want it to go versus causing us to freeze. So we talked in the interview about fight, flight, and freeze. And the natural reaction that we have as human beings generally is to freeze. Now, some of us might feel like we run naturally. Some, man, we want to fight, right? But we want to be able to understand how we react and then use that energy. Now, one thing I want you to understand is when you're out in the world and you're in that yellow alert, you're out living life. I don't want my students to be paranoid about what's going on, right? I don't want to be walking around like looking for danger. I want them to be relaxed and enjoying life, but they're aware. They're aware of it. And also, if you are approached by someone, we always tell people that if someone approaches us and maybe they make us feel a little uncomfortable and they ask us what time it is, we don't say, "Gone," right? We don't want to come out of the gates that way. We want to say something like, "I'm sorry, can I help you?" And we're a little bit more inquisitive, but we're in our power, but we're not jumping from 0 to 100. One good way to stand, okay, and I'm doing it naturally right here. If someone is approaching you and maybe you're not really feeling comfortable with them, is notice I have my hands like this, right? I'm just kind of right here because now I can bring them up quickly if I need to. I'm not looking aggressive. Another one might be to be like this, right? Call this, or, brushing our beard here, whatever. But many times what you'll see people do this. Now what's happening is I'm demonstrating that I'm weak, right? I'm weak. So again, this is one that I use personally. I feel like I can move my hands quick if I need to, but I'm also not showing aggression. So anything you want to add as we're going here?
One thing that you had said in one of the courses that we did was about the importance of eye contact,
Yes.
and that you're not staring somebody down, but you are looking at them enough to be able to identify them.
Love that. So we are enculturated as men as women to deal with eye contact differently. I think that most women have been taught, not all the time, but most have been taught to not make eye contact. Right? Oh, you're being flirtatious, you're coming on to someone, etc. Where men, what you'll oftentimes notice men will do is we'll make eye contact almost as a way of establishing our own boundary. I can tell you, if you think of the old Terminator movies, right? Where you get the whole screen, that's what men are doing. When they see someone that might be a little bit off to them, they're evaluating where he is at physically, what they can do, et cetera. It's already going through naturally. I've taught tons of self-defense seminars, and I've asked men that very question. They all say that that's what they do. So the idea that we want is not to lock in eyes and not be aggressive with your eyes, but to basically make eye contact to say, I recognize you. And as you said, you'd be able to identify them in a lineup. So you're walking down the street, you see someone, you nod to them, right? I see you. And then you continue on your way. You're doing it in such a way so that they know that you know who they are.
Which is not
Exactly. It's not that at all. Because again, remember, most of the assailants out there that want to do damage, that want to do harm to you, they don't want to fight. They want a victim. And many times, man on woman crime will be predatorial. They're preying upon you. Many times, man on man will be territorial. It's a whole different energy, right? So there are men who are looking to do bad things to women are doing that to prey because they're looking for that little weakness. Remember when I said they're doing the interview, they're speaking, they're saying, seeing how you react. They're doing that in such a way to see where that little chink in the armor is that they can engage with. Okay. All right. So we went over some of the verbal stuff. Right. And again, the verbal happens once we've been engaged and we feel that we need to protect ourselves. It's not something you come out of the gates with. Now, what we're going to do is say, OK, we've been aware of our environment. We've talked about spatial boundaries. We've talked about verbal boundaries. Now, what do we do from a standpoint of combatives? Now, one of the things that you need to understand is that in most cases, women will be at a physical disadvantage to a man. It's just the way that we're built. However, there are some things that I want you to think about in terms of where your body's strength is, that you can utilize it. So if you look at the average man, generally we're stronger in the upper body, in the arms and chest. Where is a woman's power? That's right, it's legs and thighs, baby, right? So that's what we want to make sure that we're utilizing. We're utilizing that hip power as we're looking to deliver a strike. Now, I'm going to talk about two vulnerable areas on the body, and then I'm going to have Lora. She's going to demonstrate some of these after I teach it. And the first one we're going to focus on is basically the face. Okay, basically the face. And the eyes is a wonderful place if you're able to. We teach the bird beak. In our seminars like this, you want to strike. I'm going to teach a different strike, though, called the heel palm. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to take our hand, and I'm going to come a little closer here, and I'm going to make the arm straight, so I get it like a 90-degree angle here, and I'm striking with this area right here. That's what I'm striking with. Because a fist is probably not going to do as much damage, and you may hurt yourself as a female because your hands are going to be as strong hitting a guy. But the heel palm is one that you can have some great leverage with. So, Lora, what I'm going to have you do is stand in your stance this way.
Okay.
And I want you to just put your hands on your hips. And what I want you to get used to is just twisting like this. Just twisting like this. And I'm going to go from the side view here as I twist here. And you notice what's happening is I'm putting a little bit extra weight on my forward leg. So if I'm at 50-50, I go to 60-40 as I throw that strike. But eventually we're not going to just throw this with our arm, we're going to throw this with our whole body. So let's do that now. Let's come in our self-defense stance, and your rear hand is what you're going to be striking with. That's generally where you're going to have the most power. So now what I want you to do is I want you to come out like this, and then back, and out, and back, and out, back, and out, and back. Good. Now, one of the things that is so important is anytime you're doing any type of a strike is to make sure you're breathing.
Yeah.
You know, when we get adrenalized, what ends up happening is right? So is you want to have an exhalation as you do it, or you can even do the strike and say, no, right? Because when you speak, it's actually going to force you to exhale. All right, so let's take our stance right here. And when I say go, what I want you to do is you're going to turn and do that strike. And I want you to say no in a powerful voice. So ready? 1, no. 2,
no.
3,
no.
1 more, 4,
no.
All right, good job, my friend. Excellent. So that's the first of our combatives. Now, why is that such a good strike to do? Lora and I are here, and I engage with her, and she strikes this way. What it does is this soft area, particularly the nose right here, when you get struck in the nose like this, it has a tendency to make your head move up as well as make your eyes water. Same thing, the chin is good for bringing the head back, but man, that nose really works. So when it hits this way, it causes this reaction. They may eventually bring their head down. What's that?
I can leave if your eyes are too watery.
Right? So now what happens is it's causing this reaction. Now, notice when I bring my head back, what does it do to the lower part of my body right here? It opens it up. So that's what we're going to do in our next technique, which is we're going to use the knee strike. Okay, the knee strike. Now, when we're doing the knee strike, I'll show it from this position here, is what we're thinking about doing is we almost, if we can, always want to deliver with our rear leg, because that's where we're going to have the most power. Lifting up like this doesn't provide a lot of power, but this does. Now, when we're striking with the knee, I want you to think about moving up and a little bit forward like this here, right? Or let me show it from the side versus just here, think about extending your hip as you move forward, okay? Extending your hip as you move forward, because now what happens is you get much more of your hip and your body into it, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Laura, let's do this together.
Okay.
And stand just like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 of these. And I'll explain why we're doing 2 in a moment. But we're going to throw with our rear leg. We're going to step forward. And then we're going to step and do another rear leg knee. So right here, we're going to do a knee strike here. And then a knee strike here. Good. And come on back. Yeah, let's do it again. So right here, we're going to do a knee strike 1. And then a knee strike 2. Good. And let me show it here just for a second from the side here, Laura. So we're going to be here. We're going to knee strike here, step down, knee strike here. Okay? All right. I'm going to have you do it just a couple of times.
Okay.
Ready?
So back here.
And strike 1, down, strike 2, and down. Good. Bring on back. Ready? And knee 1 and knee 2. Good. Now, the reason I'm having you do 2 knees is that imagine she strikes me in the face. Okay, so boom. And change your feet for me, my friend. Right. Good. Boom. And then she knees once to the groin. Well, what's my natural reaction if she's got me is to do this. And so that next knee goes to the head. Okay? Now, I will tell you that in a fight, it'll probably never happen exactly like that. But for you to understand the concept of striking first, right, to the face, to get their head to move back, and then delivering the strike to the knee. Now, someone might say, well, what happens if I was here and I had both of her arms? Well, of course, she wouldn't knee me, or she wouldn't just strike to the head. She'd knee to the groin. Boom. So it's right there. So anyway, there's a couple of little tips there in terms of what we call our combatives of striking. Now, do you want me to do the wrist thing?
Please. Okay,
good. So I'm going to show you one more self-defense technique, and then I'm going to show how this all goes together. Okay, so we're going to come right here, and I want you to go ahead, Laura, grab my wrist just from here. In fact, we'll come up here just a little bit more. There we go. So sometimes this is what will happen is you'll have someone grab your wrist. And the first thing we want to do is when that wrist is grabbed is we want to open up our hand. Okay, reason is just let go for a second, my friend. Everyone just go ahead and grab your own wrist at home, right? And when you open and then you close and you open and close, what do you notice? You notice the wrist expands, right? The radius and the ulna, they expand. So that's the first thing we're going to do.
Am I grabbing you?
You're going to grab me just for a second here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open. Now, this part of the grip right here between her forefinger and her thumb is the weakest part of her grip. The thinnest part of my arm is this area here. So I'm going to open, twist, so that I line up this thin part of the arm to the weak part of the grip. Then I'm going to bend at the elbow at a 90 degree. And I'm going to salute.
So that was squeezing.
Right? So I'm going to open, twist, and salute right here. So that's going to be our wrist release. So I'm going to have Laura do it a couple times on me. So she's going to open, twist, and then salute. Good. And again, open, twist, salute. Now, you might say, well, what if I have a big, strong guy? What do I do? Well, what she can do, watch here. I'll demonstrate it, and then she'll do it. You can open, twist, grab your own hand, and then pull back. All right, so go ahead and try that, Laura. 1, open, twist. Good. And then you can step back with your entire leg so your whole body goes with it. Boom. Good. And then step back with your right foot when you do that. Try that again.
We'll do that again.
Yep.
Okay.
So here.
Open, twist.
There you go. Good. All right. So now we're going to put this all together.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to put this all together. Now I'm going to demonstrate it once, but she's going to be doing most of the work here. All right. So you might be saying, well, man, I'm going to go. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your husband and say, grab my wrist, right? And you're not going to be able to get out. So what we're going to do is we're going to put all the techniques together that I just showed show how it works practically. So she grabs my wrist here,
Okay.
grabs my wrist here. I am still going to open this hand, but now what I'm going to do off of this back here is I'm going to say, no, here. Okay, and I'm going to strike because this hand is occupied. It's hard for that person to block. Then I'm going to reach on this shoulder here, and I'm going to knee strike right here. Then I'm going to take my hand and step back. All right, so watch again. I'm going to open. I'm going to strike here, reach on the shoulder, knee to the groin, grab my own hand, pull back. Why don't you give it a try, my
That's
friend?
crazy, isn't
All right,
it?
come this way a little bit. All right, good.
Okay, so
So
I'm gonna open,
strike, and knee.
I'm gonna knee.
Good.
And then I'm gonna go.
All right, try one more time.
Okay, open,
Uh-huh. Strike.
right.
That's it.
Where's your hand?
Boom.
Knee, and then out of here.
You go. Very good. So what we've done is we've kind of just put all those techniques together and stacked them so you've got a practical skill that you can use. Now, I said this in the interview, and I'm going to say it again. Self-defense, the combatives, is about 10% technique, 90% attitude. So if what I just showed you there, what we just worked out with Laura and myself, if it doesn't work that way, in terms of, doesn't matter. The thing that matters the most is your attitude, your drive inside of you that says, I will not be victimized today. I am going home alive today. I'm going to go see my kids today. You have that type of an attitude. And whether you use your knee strike or your fist or whatever that technique is, you are fighting with such ferocity because you care enough for yourself that you're going to survive. That's what's going to get you through it.
And there are two things that I want to say around that. You can see me doing it like, wait, which one, where? Anything we do, research shows you have to do it about 50 times to just feel comfortable with it. You don't need somebody here. You could kind of be going in your mind, oh yeah, like 50, oh yeah. Just make it comfortable in your body. I'm really big on somatics and embodiment. Just do it.
Absolutely.
Just visualize it a few times and it'll be there.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
I was going to say that the visualization is so important. And then what you do then is you anchor it and it becomes cellular memory. Like when we do our classes, the reason that people walk away is we teach it in such a format that actually anchors in their cellular memory.
Yeah.
And in fact, I know that I told you the story before, but years ago, we had a woman that took our course and had no prior martial arts experience and then left, went to go live her life and got attacked 8 years after the class. Not 8 days, not 8 months, but 8 years. And what she told us is that, number one, all of her self-defense skills came back. In fact, she took care of the guy. And the rumor is he went in the hospital. But what she said is not only did all of her body movements come back, but she heard her coach and all of her teammates cheering her on when she was taking care of them. Right? So the body will respond when we train it properly.
Yeah, I love that. And then the second thing that I wanted to say, when I took Chris's class, which I highly recommend if you are in Colorado, highly recommend. At the very end of class, he has this thing where he says, I'm going to randomly attack somebody in class. And I'm like, so not me. Guess who? It was he randomly attacked me on the wall. Why I was afraid of him doing that was because what if I do it wrong? What if I hit in the wrong place? I don't know what to do. What if that cellular memory is not there? It was just a one-day workshop. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do it wrong. Here's what I want to say. It's not working out like this all the time, just like Chris said earlier, but things do come in. And my adrenaline went up the second I realized he was coming at me. And it was like, it kicks in. I mean, it just does. And I just want to emphasize that it kicks in and you know what to do. And during the radio show, Chris was talking a little bit about tunnel vision. For me, my tunnel vision was, I'm getting him off. This is not where he is this man is not going to be on my body. I am going to fight and I'm going to win.
That's right. As I said, 90% attitude.
It kicks in.
Yeah, 90% attitude. And know that I'll end my thought on this in this way. You have a right. You deserve to be safe. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve to be living a life that you enjoy, where people love and respect you. That is part of your birthright. So own that If it transfers into relationships, if it transfers into self-defense situations, whatever, just know that you're worth fighting for.
So good. Thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Chris. Thank you. And Chris, will you tell people where to find you?
Sure, they can find me directly at chrisnatzke.com. That's CHRIS, N as in Navy, AT, Z as in zebra, KE.com. They can also go to our website for our self-defense, which is higherselfdefense.com, and that's HIGHER selfdefense.com.
Perfect. Thank you
You're
so
welcome. My pleasure.
much. And again, I will put all the links underneath. And again, thanks for playing. Thanks for being here with us today. Be safe. Be safe. Bye.